Welcome to another installment slash episode. Not even sure what to call it as of yet. It's such a still early development, and I didn't really put together a storyboard, direct format, or preliminary introduction to how I was going to go about presenting what it is I'm presenting and doing what I'm doing. I'm just doing it from the fly, from the most kind of organic sense of conveying what I feel is what I have to contribute to whoever's earshot can listen, because one of the more impactful quotes I feel like I heard throughout the course of my life was when Pac said in an interview that I might not be the person that could change the world, but I might spark the mind of the individual capable of changing the world. So I look at some of the things that I have to say as some form of a segment, some form of a delivery that can influence and possibly contribute something positive to somebody somewhere, in whichever way that they can put in implementation something positive to help better a negative situation that they may have previously been in prior to hearing me say what I got to say, or shedding some form of enlightenment on maybe a subject that they heard about but couldn't fully articulate, knew about, but gaining a more clarifying perspective from what it is that I have to say. So anything along those lines of sparking the minds of those capable of producing change is why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing, saying what I'm saying, and giving what I'm giving in light to what I feel I have to offer. So with that being said, since my intro video has already been done, and I might have to introduce myself countless times, countless ways, and throughout time as I continue to give whatever it is that I have to give. But I'm going to dive right into what I feel is some of the information straight from, once again, the opening segments of my book called The Transition that I want to talk about, I want to elaborate on, and I just want to dive into a little bit. So with that, I'm getting right into what is the introduction of The Transition when it says, although I spent 25 years and 8 months in prison since the age of 16, this writing isn't to be a tell-all, a descriptive manual of prison exploits, or shocking stories similar to what most of the movies, songs, or references of prison has regularly done throughout the years. This isn't my version of entertainment. For those of us who have been to prison or has known someone who has, then there's no need for me to repeat any of what you may have already known or heard. They all are horrible. They are not correctional facilities. There is no form of justice that occurs within, and other than people who profit off of them, only a clown would have anything positive or dismissive to say about the dehumanizing experience. Now, I know when I said that statement, some people could take it offensively. Some people could give their rendition on what it is they felt I meant, or what it is that that subject identifies with the way that they foreseen it. And I'm going to just say this. I already know that when I give my views and cast my opinions and cast my perspectives, it's not meant to identify with everybody. It's not meant to be a one-size blanket fits all, and I can't say something that I'm expecting 100% of the population to agree with. Everybody's experiences are different. Everybody's circumstances were different. So everybody didn't walk away from prison, their encounters with that, with the same exact analysis and the same exact consequences or repercussions. They digested it and they took it in the way that they did. So I have to speak about what I know. I have to speak about what I seen. I have to speak about what I learned. And this is not to say that somebody can't respond to me and say, well, hey, my perspective wasn't in line with what it is you said because I dealt with it like this, or I seen it like this, or I heard it like this. Open dialogue for productive reasons is always welcome, but can't nobody tell me what I seen, and can't nobody tell me what I encountered, and can't nobody tell me what I've been through, because I ain't given, if I speak about any information in a second party basis or a third party basis, I'll speak about that so as a segue before I get into what it is that I'm about to say, excuse me. But when I speak about something from a first party perspective, it's because I lived it. Hands down, I experienced it, and I'm not testifying to the rendition of it that has been watered down or has been diminished for the sake of trying to convey something in a storybook form or what I feel is sociably entertainable form, because I'm more in tuned and I'm more concerned with educating than I am entertaining. As I said, I'm not trying to be perceived as no clown in no way, shape, form. I'm not trying to be perceived as anything less than an informative testimonial capable of highlighting some insightfulness or enlightenment on a situation that for the longest period of time and for so many ways is being spoken about in a very broad and unhelpful way that could possibly or even want to have people say, hey man, let's start talking about this subject in a serious set of circumstances to help people refrain from going there, as opposed to just saying, hey, well, prison is nutty. And I ain't even talking about all the people who are promoting the agenda as if anything about prison is cool. I'm not even going to scratch that surface. So with that said, I'm going to dive back into what I need to, and you guys piggyback up off of it or pick up on it as you see fit. So I'm going to say this. This writing is inclusive of prison because I spent so many developmental years of my life in there. I entered as a juvenile and was sentenced to spend the rest of my life plus 15 or 40 years there. I grew up in prison. I acquired the majority of my understanding of life while inside, so as I write with the acknowledgement of my environment's influence. But this is a hopeful attempt to thwart people from going to prison or help redirect the actions of someone they foresee making mistakes similar to the ones I did, which led me there. This is the story that I wish someone had read to me before I got arrested. It's the information my mother, who raised me, needed to understand when trying to make sense of her out-of-control teenager. The reason why I didn't say it is a book that I wished I read is because at 16 years old, I would not have understood its relevance, nor its importance. Yes, I knew how to read, but I had a limited ability to comprehend, to grasp the fullness of whatever it was I was reading or supposed to know. I don't believe a book could have altered my path back then, regardless of how appealing the cover looked, how affordable it was priced, or however it was presented to me. I was a street dude. I spent my time in them. I was focused on them, and I got satisfaction from them. I didn't realize anything was wrong with the way I thought in order for me to try and correct my behavior by making anything right. This information, perspective, or whatever you decide to label it, couldn't penetrate the allure pulling me in the direction of prison. But I do believe that people could have. People I respected, loved, or placed emphasis on what they had to say. Had they said the right thing, led me in the right direction, or advised me in a beneficial way, my life would have been different. Presuming that they could understand the information within to then relate with me, I imagine that my life could have been different. In saying that, I know there's a reversal perspective. Thankfully, I survived prison, got educated, found the love of my life, created a family, and was released to the life that I'm now living. Had I not gone in that direction, none of that could have happened, or would not have happened the way it ended up happening. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't have found my family now. I just may not have found them the way that I did and at the time that I did. I'm not trying to predict what someone else's destiny is supposed to be, because although life is lived forward, it's mostly understood in retrospect. However, my path and my blessings are not common. My duration in prison, the support I had throughout, the love I obtained within, and my ability to overcome a lot of the hardships that I faced while inside. Most of the others in similar situations as myself did not overcome. If there's a chance that a child or an adult can be spared a lifetime of grief that they not only cause upon themselves, but also inflict upon others, then it will be wise and helpful to educate them. By getting involved and taking interest in someone else's life, you need to educate yourself to that someone. As I mentioned earlier, my trials and tribulations wasn't the norm. It's not normal to meet a beautiful woman while serving a life sentence who decides to dedicate her entire life to you. It's not normal to create 3 boys, 2 of them being a set of twins, all before you knew you would ever walk the streets again. It's not normal to have your mother survive cancer twice and live to see you walk out of prison, buy a house, buy a car, and celebrate the holidays when she can remember what it was like to beg for your life at a death penalty hearing, where a jury decided whether to sentence you to serve life in prison or they decided to kill you. And it also is not normal for your one and only brother to still be stuck serving a life sentence because a law that helped you get out of prison missed helping him by 5 months of his 18th birthday. I'm writing to be one of the educational tools needed in an arsenal of understanding and an arsenal of understanding and a normal way of thinking for those like me who grew up in an era that despite one's potential, youth, or ignorance, we were headed straight for the penitentiary before finishing high school. I went from being called Jamal to inmate to juvenile lifer to parolee. Now that I have an understanding of what the significance of my title means, I'd like to share my truth via hindsight analyzation to all those willing to listen. With that, I end that segment and just speak about some of the most impactful part of what I feel like was just mentioned. That's super duper heavy for me, man, is the point that, as I said, and I've said it a million times, I did 25 years and 8 months on a life plus 15 to 40 year sentence. And when I say that with the connotation of wanting people to attribute the weight behind my words because of the time that I served. But I'm speechless and I'm flawless when I think about the fact of my brother is still serving that time on that same case, that same sentence. And my brother wasn't the principal for the case. I was. I was the one that pulled the trigger. I was the one that even erected the thought process to want to do it because I was in a very, very negative head space at that time period. And unfortunately, because of my reckless behavior, the result was a homicide. And it was a homicide against somebody that truthfully did not warrant my negativity, did not warrant my emotions, did not in any way, shape, or form arguably say that, hey, he did something that was the causation for everything that spawned from that. It was like, no, it was 100% me being goofy, period. It was 100% me being goofy. It was 100% me being in a bad headspace. It was 100% me being immature. And it was 100% of me being not the greatest human being at that time in my life. And because of that, despite the hurt that was forecasted on every and anybody else that had any type of emotional investment in me and my family, or the victim and his family, my brother is still sitting in jail. And it's been 30 years and 4 months that he's still sitting in jail serving a life without parole sentence because the same law that freed me would not help him because he was 5 months into his 18th birthday. The law that came out that said we're going to give individuals who are under the age of 18 years old the opportunity to go back to court and possibly be considered for parole eligibility. It encompassed me and it encompassed everybody who was under 18 years old, meaning you could be 17 years old and 364 days before you turned 18, and this law encompassed you. But if 2 days prior to your 18th, 2 days after your 18th birthday, you turned 18, then you must stay in jail and continue to serve your life sentence. That is the differential point in which the lawmakers decided. And I still standing upon that premise 5 years later in my brother's behalf, that because of that 24-hour cutoff period from 17 years old until the next day that you wake up and celebrate your 18th birthday, at that moment you became 1,000,000% culpable. You became 1,000,000% liable. You became held to the exact same standards as an adult And for that reason, you would be separated and distinguished from the benefit of that law. And the law is based on the fact of saying a juvenile being under the age of 18, mental capacity to understand the totality of his decisions are not fully developed yet. And the research, scientific, psychological, all of the research that was used to develop this belief system that the courts ruled should now be considered in analyzing juveniles was based upon a study conducted upon individuals from 12, 13 on so, all the way up until 24, 25. Up until 24, 25, they said, and when I say they, I'm talking about the scientists, the research developers, the psychologists, the brain analysis individuals, that there were certain portions of the brain that had yet to fully develop in everybody until predominantly 25 years old. So it's saying that some people's brain could develop at 18, some 22, some 23. But they were saying some it could even take all the way up until 25. So I'm going to just try to make a little bit of a comparison to put that in somewhat of a perspective. We all grow pubic hair at different points of our life. Some people grow it at 9 years old to start. Some people it don't start until 10. Some people it may not start until 13. So now this is a way of the court saying that 18 years old, everybody is supposed to grow pubic hair the moment they turn 18. This would be saying that at 18 years old, everyone is supposed to be 100% culpable for their lives as an adult, to now distinguish them and separate them from the capacity, analyzation, comparison, or belief system of a juvenile. And we all know, and when I say we, I'm talking about the common perception of civilization. We know that that's not what happens. That's not how it works. At 18 years old, you don't immediately leave the house. At 18 years old, you don't immediately know everything that you are supposed to know, or then learn to know as you continue to proceed in life and developing some type of responsibility or accountability as an adult. You don't automatically know how to open a checking account. You don't automatically know how to file your taxes. You don't automatically have the money to buy yourself a car, to buy yourself a house, to open up an IRA savings account, to get life insurance. There's so many things that you don't know within a 24-hour period of going from living in your parents' household to now being alone and on as an adult to take care of yourself to 100-degree accountability standards, that it's almost, for lack of a better term, unconscionable for a lawmaking body to pronounce such a standard that even they know if their kids was held to this barometer, it would be unsuccessful, it would be inapplicable, and it would be considered archaic in being capable of saying with such a belief system that this blanket suits all causes, fits all circumstances, fits all places, and that's that. So with that being said, I'm not going to embellish on a lot more of what shouldn't have been done, how it should be perceived, and so forth. I'm only going to stay and focus on the fact of the hardest portion of what it is that I read was once again reminding me that my brother is still serving time for a crime that I committed. And although I was capable enough and I was blessed enough and I'm thankful enough to be sitting where I am, freed from that actual consequence of that crime, he's still sitting in jail. And he's still sitting in jail serving time, not because of crimes he committed throughout the course of our incarceration or any other contingent factors. He's still serving time only for the crime he was held to be liable with me. So it's a very hard pill to swallow in my reacclimation to society and my reformation of understanding what it is to move forward, because I'm still jaded by the reality of the consequences that I'm responsible for putting into effect. And it's just one more reason and one more, it's almost like it's gas. It's gas used as fuel for me to continue to realize that just because I was capable of coming here, acquiring some of the financial presumptions that pro-offer stability or pro-offer success, that it doesn't justify any type of solace or real contentment of me not believing that I have to do more. I have to try to accomplish more. I have to try to educate more. I have to try to enlighten more, because there's still so much injustice that is not only being done in and out the penal systems, in and out the particular classes of individuals, and specifically with, the loves that are close and near and dear to me. But it's just that I might possibly say something to future senators, to future representatives, to the future president. Some of the women that listen to me, some of the women that are in tune with my wife, some of the women that I socialize with, these women might raise the next president of the United States. They might raise the next Fortune 500 company representatives. They might raise the next ACLU members, the next coalition members, the next district attorneys, the next police commissioners. And by them now having the inclusion of what it is that I'm saying, by them now having the inclusion of my testimonial in their teachings, by them now having the inclusion of the information that I put in the transition, my book, and the information that I'm speaking about, and watching me display and conduct myself as a living example of what it means to have a second chance, what it means to have the love of a family, what it means to have an opportunity to do something other in rectifying your behavior or correcting the public perception of you after you've committed something that was horrible or something that was atrocious. I want them to at least now have the ability to tell their kids, their nieces, their nephews, their cousins, their friends, okay, hey, when the subject matter of prison come up, when the subject matter of crime come up, when the subject matter of blacks come up, there's also the inclusion of my life. There's also the inclusion of my example. There's also the inclusion of my second chance, for them to now say, okay, we can't just speak towards the stereotype of it all being perceived one way, because of what happened with him and because of what he did after what happened with him. We got to look at that to say, hey, well, this can happen or that can happen. It creates more possibilities. It creates more believabilities. It creates more optimism. And for that, I got to talk. For that, I gotta offer what it is that I got to offer, because I have to continuously attempt to redefine the negative. I wish it wasn't, one of the speaking points that I felt responsible for doing so. But truth be told, when I turn on social media, I see a plethora of things perpetuating the negative. I see, when I turn on the music, I hear a ridiculous amount of the music speaking towards the negativity of leading people to prison. You can call it what you want. You can say what you want. You can say, hey, we get money off it, or it's just entertainment, or it's just Denzel. It's the same way like Denzel did in Training Day. But I would differentiate that as, no, it's not the same thing that Denzel did in Training Day. And I'm not saying this to condemn everybody who does it or did it, but I am saying it to understand the distinguishing difference of what makes the pro-offering of such negative music totally different than a Hollywood movie. And what makes it so incredibly distinct in my mind, period, point blank, is the moment the director yells action, an actor gets into character. He gets into character. He performs a pretend role. He's performing it for the believability of the movie scene, but he keeps it